Welcome to Module 1, Vapes and Vape Juice 101. In this module, you're going to learn the basics that I think every vapor should understand about how a vape actually functions and what is an e-liquid. A vape is a device that gives the user a similar experience as smoking tobacco. It can also be called an electronic cigarette or an e-cig. E-cigs have been gaining popularity over the last decade as a way to replace traditional smoking and cigarettes. E-cigs typically contain nicotine, the addictive substance found in tobacco products, and some e-cigs have been criticized for containing harmful ingredients like heavy metals and other cancer-causing chemicals that can lead to lung disease. In general, e-cigs have three parts. The first part is called an atomizer. That's a device that turns liquid into a vapor by using a battery to heat vape juice or e-liquid. The second part is called a power source, just like a battery, typically a lithium-ion battery. And the third part is a liquid container. This is the compartment that holds the e-liquid. The first e-cig was launched around 2003, and they gained popularity in the United States around 2009 when a company called Blue hit the American markets. E-cigs typically work by the user hitting a button to activate an atomizer, which heats the e-liquid until it becomes a vapor. Then, the user inhales the vapor, which upon inhalation cools enough not to burn the user's throat. There's a lot of different kinds of e-cigs, but a vast majority of them contain nicotine and are therefore addictive. In order to truly understand e-cigs and how to quit them, it's important to understand what is in a typical e-liquid. E-liquid, also known as vape juice, is a liquid that's heated and inhaled during the process of vaping. There are many different kinds of e-liquids with many different ingredients, but in general, most e-liquids contain vegetable glycerin and propylene glycol, artificial and natural flavors, nicotine, menthol, colada, and other cooling agents, acids, distilled water, and pure grain alcohol. We're going to look at each of these ingredients further so you can understand what they are and why they are in vape juice. Vegetable glycerin and propylene glycol are two compounds that make up about 95% of any e-liquid. Both of these ingredients share these traits. They're both emulsifiers, which means they help the e-liquid ingredients stay mixed so you don't have to shake your vape before hitting it. They help trap moisture, and they're actually used commonly in baked goods to keep them from going bad or spoiling. They can be used to trap scents because they're solvents, which means they dissolve other substances. Vegetable glycerin in particular tastes sweet without containing sugar, and they form visible clouds when heated at low temperatures. Manufacturers combine ingredients to give users the flavors that come with vaping. Each brand typically creates their own specific flavors and mixes by combining ingredients. And a lot of the popular and recognized flavors that vapes contain use the same ingredients as their candy and food manufacturer counterparts. That's how it's possible to get the same flavor profile on a vape that you would find in your favorite candy or soda. Although some vapes don't include nicotine, it's almost universal that they do. Nicotine is the addictive chemical that gives the vapor the rush or the high that feels good because it releases dopamine. A lot of vape brands source their nicotine naturally from tobacco, which is then separated from the tobacco with a solvent like ammonia. Nicotine can also be made in a lab. Synthetic or tobacco-free nicotine has gained popularity over the last few years as production costs have gone down. As vape companies try to distance themselves from big tobacco, synthetic nicotine will continue to gain popularity. Menthol, colada, and other cooling agents have been used by cigarette manufacturers for a long time to cover the harshness and give a refreshing feeling. Some vapes contain these ingredients, depending on the desired flavor profile. But in general, vapes are less harsh to inhale than traditional tobacco products like cigarettes. E-liquids containing nicotine salt have gained popularity over the last few years. Nicotine salt is less irritating to the user's throat than traditional e-liquid because the acid lowers the pH of the nicotine base. Nicotine salts usually contain a much higher level of nicotine, but turn off the body's natural defense mechanisms to inhaling too much of it. Sometimes an e-liquid or vape juice does not contain propylene glycol, and water instead will be used to thin the fluid out. This type of mixture is very good for producing thick clouds upon exhalation. Sometimes, depending on the intention of the manufacturer, they will include grain alcohol into the e-liquid. This increases the strength of the hit and gives it a punch for traditionally stronger and more intense flavors like tobacco. Before moving on, I think it's important to mention EVALI. EVALI, or e-cigarette or vaping use-associated lung injury, is a serious inflammatory lung condition that often requires hospitalization. Causes may include certain chemicals in vaping products. Symptoms of EVALI generally affect your breathing, but may also cause abdominal issues, fevers, and chills. Healthcare providers can treat EVALI, but it's a relatively new condition that they're still learning about. The CDC says as of February 18, 2020, a total of 2,807 hospitalization EVALI cases or deaths have been reported. 68 deaths have been confirmed in all 29 states and the District of Columbia. Please be mindful, though, that a lot of these hospitalizations were actually linked to the presence of vitamin E acetate. There's been some controversy between the nicotine and the marijuana companies on who's actually creating the EVALI cases. And largely, now that studies have come out, vitamin E acetate is what's been linked to a lot of the EVALI cases and a lot of the deaths. Vitamin E acetate is typically found in THC oils, not necessarily in nicotine and nicotine salt e-liquids. Okay? But just because of that fact does not mean that we know the long-term effects of nicotine juices. It does not mean that nicotine juices are safe, and we have no idea what the long-term effects are of inhaling nicotine at this level. Okay, so we're going to move forward, but please do not use this slide to think that nicotine in vape juices are safe because we don't know that information yet. Vitamin E acetate is used as an additive, most notably in THC-containing e-cigarettes and vaping products. Vitamin E is also a vitamin found in many foods, including vegetable oils, cereals, meats, and fruits. Vitamin E acetate does not usually cause harm when ingested as a vitamin, supplement, or applied to the skin. However, previous research suggests that when vitamin E acetate is inhaled, it may interfere with normal lung functioning. Evidence is not sufficient to rule out the contribution of other chemicals of concern, including chemicals in either THC or non-THC products, in some of their reported EVALI cases. The CDC will continue to update guidance on the EVALI cases as necessary.